JP.
We're back, man.
We're back, bro.
It's a
We
new
haven't
year.
done an episode since last year. Yeah, I made that joke because I'm a dad and I can. How you been, bro? It's been a while. I haven't really seen you much lately. You've been working so much. I've been hiding from the government.
Yep. Holidays.
I
haven't seen you since.
We're
before
tight, but we don't
Christmas.
spend holidays together.
Yeah. I wasn't even here.
Yeah, I wasn't here either mentally. Well, we have a couple new segments we're going to start doing. We mentioned it on the last episode. We're going to do the Cheers to moment.
Cheers to.
JP's doesn't have a drink tonight, but still counts.
Yeah.
You're going to simulate.
Slim
What you
down
want
on
to
the
cheers
LBs.
to, bro? You want to cheers to?
I actually have two.
Let's hear it.
First one, Illinois. This happened a couple days ago, but they expunged 500.
Hang on. Thanks for saying Illinois, not Illinois. That's a pet peeve of mine, being
Illinois?
a former Illinois resident. I hate that when somebody says Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Expunged 500,000 cases of marijuana offenses. So we're finally getting rid of some of that crap. I feel terrible for people who are life in prison over pot.
Oh yeah, dude, that's
ridiculous.
the worst. That's so stupid. Makes no damn sense.
Yeah, that's especially when it's legal now. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, another UFO sighting major over Hawaii, also a couple days ago, but still.
Oh, we got to talk to our guests about that.
Oh yeah, made it on the news and everything. So it was pretty cool.
Damn, bro, the alien stuff, man, it's out of control right now. I'll wait until we talk to our guest about that because I want to pick his brain on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just gave away a clue. It's a guy guest. Oh, you already clicked on the episode. You know who it is. This is the worst. Okay. So here's my cheers to. I've been unemployed. I got laid off because of COVID and lack of productivity in the oil field. So Daddy took a new twist. I'm in a new line of work now. Mm-hmm. Had my last interview today. I did 4 interviews in the last couple of days. And I did 3 already today, and this will be our 4th. Not really an interview, but it's an episode. I did an interview this morning, and then I did a podcast for my other show, No Limits. Check it out on YouTube. I had David El Nino Rodriguez, who's a badass dude. And then I had another interview, and then now we're doing this. So I have been talking so much today. I'm tired of hearing my own voice.
No kidding. Have you left this room?
No.
Did you do your interviews with this background?
No, I did on the other side where the No Limits, so I could green screen it. Yeah, dude, I'm tired of talking, so I'm looking forward to hearing our guests talk and you talk, and I'll just kind of be like hanging out and shit. But my cheers to is I'm back in the business. I'm employed. Is that the right term? I'm employed. Employed,
yes.
I'm employed now. I'm back in action. I'm not just a professional podcaster who makes no money. So I can turn off my OnlyFans account. We're back on the grind. We're gonna do it, guys.
Perfect.
We're gonna make it happen.
I'm gonna break some hearts there.
Yeah,
that's okay. It is what it is.
It is what it is. But it's episode 65. We started this podcast a year ago in January. We were lucky enough to have a badass guest as our first guest. Mm-hmm. And we're even more lucky to have that badass guest back to our podcast as our first guest for the second year.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, the one and only Charlie Macroaggressions Robinson. There it
is. Nice.
What's up,
thanks, guys. This has been, God, it's been a year. It's been a year already since you guys started. I started right after you guys did my show. And it's like, well, we timed it right.
Yeah.
You know, people had free time on their hands, unfortunately. They're sitting around listening to podcasts, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. Mm-hmm. But I would trade in all the fun I've had doing the podcast over the last year for the insanity of 2020 to have never happened, because all, you know, I mean, it's just screwed up everything and made, it makes everything more. Now I have to like honestly think, do I really want to go to the grocery store?
Right.
And before I would give that no thought. And now I'm like, do I want to? It's basically like me saying, would you like to get into a bar fight tonight? We have an option for you to, like, every time I want to do anything, it's like the potential is there for me to have to get in an argument with somebody about a mask or something, you know, or, you know, just me not following their rules. And I hate that, you know, it's so stupid, but that's where we are. Like I got my shields up every time I go out, which sucks because I don't want to, you know, live my life like anticipating getting into arguments everywhere I go. It's just no way to live. And I've lost a lot of faith in just the average person out there. I mistakenly assumed that they were more equipped to deal with this nonsense and see through all of this insanity than I gave them credit for. I assumed they would see through this right away, or
Right.
at least in a couple of months.
Right.
And there's a huge segment of the population that will never see through this. They can't allow themselves to see through it. They can't admit that they were wrong about it all. So, you know, the new normal, whether we like it or not, is knowing that half the people that you interact with on a daily basis are brain dead and totally incapable of critical thought. Even when presented with evidence right in front of their face, if it didn't come from their television set, they don't believe it. So I don't know, man. What's changed since, you know, the first time we did this, and of course we've done other shows before, and I appreciate you guys always having me on. It's fun to get weird with you all. But you know, from where we started, from where we started that first night down in the podcast studio in person, you know, getting into it, you know, I was trying to read part of my book. It's so fucking dark. I could barely read anything. And then I tell you what I realized during quarantine is that I need these stupid reading glasses, which is fun. Now,
I'm right behind you, man. My vision's going to shit.
To admit that I'm old, and in my defense, I do read a lot. Obviously, as a writer, I'm constantly writing, but still, I from where we started to where we are now, the world is like practically unrecognizable, and it's
that's 1 year, man. That's so crazy to think about.
1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to give you a cheers too as well, man. If you weren't came and be our first guest and really brought it and like really inspired us to step up our game,
Yeah,
we probably wouldn't have lasted as long, because you came in here and as our first guest, which was super lucky for us. And man, you made our listeners like, damn, these guys might actually have something here. They were all impressed, and you gave us a lot of confidence, man.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered. Thank you for saying that. I'm flattered, obviously. But you know, it's funny. I get, because like, I don't know if the listeners know this story, but I get this email from you guys, and it's like, I'd love to have you come on our podcast. And we can do it by Zoom, unless of course, you know, you happen to live in Denver. And I'm like, I do live in Denver. Let's do it in person. And you're like, shit. Okay, cool. So we met up, we went out to dinner, and then we went back to your place and went down into this killer podcast studio that you've built out. And we got weird for 2 hours, man. And it was
now JP's pregnant.
It's as much
we
fun
don't know
for
who
me.
the father is.
Yeah. It's as much fun for me as it is, you know, as I think it was for you guys. I mean, I just like geeking out on this stuff, and to have other human beings that you're like, oh, there's other people. Like, I met a guy recently that saw me on the Dollar Vigilante conference. I was a part of this conference, and people pay to see the conference. And this guy reached out to me, and he's like, I just want to hang out with somebody that I know thinks like me and lives in the same area. And this guy turned out he lived like 2 miles away from me.
Wow.
And so we went out to lunch, and I felt the same way. I was like, it's just nice to be around people that, you know, are
Awake.
paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, paying attention to what's going on, awake, you know, just like engage. And I wasn't always like that. I'm sure you guys weren't either. But I mean, at some point you just kind of go, God, I feel like I'm being lied to. And like, I took it personally. I think a lot of people go through, you know, they watch their nightly news and they read the papers and listen to politicians and all this stuff. And at some point you have to realize that they're pathological liars.
Yeah, definitely.
And to me, the difference between like the people that, you know, remain asleep and the people that wake up in my particular case was that I took it personally that they were lying to me, and I got super offended by it. And I kind of made it like incorporated into my personality to push back against people like that. People that are just blatantly
Dude, that's a
lying.
great point. Yeah. I never thought about that. I'm the same way. I do not like being lied to. I take it personal. Are you like that too, JP?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a common ground that we all have as truth seekers. That
I think it might be. It might be. We recognize bullshit when we see it,
Mhm.
and we don't appreciate it.
Right.
I mean, especially if we're coming from a place, if we know we're coming from a place of like truth, or I mean, maybe we don't have it all right, but we think we do, or we're coming from a place of wanting to figure it out, and then interacting with somebody that isn't even on that level at all. All they want to do is try to manipulate you and lie to you or cheat, steal from you or rob you or tell you something that is untrue so that you'll believe some story so that they can do what they want to do behind your back. I just take it personally. I get pissed off about it. And so, and that started me writing, and it started me going, and then when I wrote the first book, then I went out and promoted it. And then people were like, I like your anger. You want to come on my show and get angry and yell at my audience? I mean, not at your audience, but
is that Sam?
yelling at, or as Sam Tripoli says, yelling at each other in agreement.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So he goes, yeah, this is great. This is great. It was just too, after we got done, I was in LA doing Tinfoil Hat with him, and afterwards I go, what'd you think? And he goes, it was two guys yelling at each other in agreement. And I was like, yeah, it was actually, that's what it was. We were screaming at each other. We were just yelling at each other, but we weren't in a fight or anything. And I don't know. I mean, I think maybe is that the common thread for all of us, that like we have low tolerance for bullshit. We're pretty good at recognizing lies and we take it personally. I mean, I think that's where I start from.
I mean, it kind of shows you their colors, it shows you their true, how they really are. Cause I feel like if I boldly lie to somebody's face, I don't know if a lot of people like to lie, but I beat myself up over. I'm like, you're a piece of shit. Did you really just lie to that dude's face? Man up, tell him the truth. Like,
yeah. I mean,
I wonder if we were all burned by lying girls at one point, man. Is that our common thing? Do we all get burned?
Probably. We're all bitter. We're all
just bitter
people that have been lied to. That's right. Like you're in the middle of like dissecting one of Donald Trump's big lies, and you're like, "You whore!" You're like, wait, hang on a sec. Where did that come from? You're lying, slut. Yeah. We've all been. We're always getting manipulated. Mm-hmm. It's just like, to what degree? I mean, and we do it as parents too. I found out something about myself that I didn't really like, but I had to admit was true, was that I'm all against the NSA's surveillance program and everything, but I'll be damned if I didn't have a baby camera above the crib so I could watch what the baby was doing. You know what I mean? I was spying on the baby like crazy back when she was a baby. And I was like, I am like an outright hypocrite on this one. And I acknowledge that, like, NSA spying, like, how dare you? We deserve privacy and everything. Like, spy on my kid? Fuck yeah. So,
but you're doing it out of a protective, different
right.
perspective. Yeah. You're not doing it out of some malicious content.
Right. But I'm sure the NSA says it's for our own good. They're spying on us for just to make sure that we're not
choking on our own spit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
I think if they caught me doing that, they wouldn't come and save me.
Like, maybe we should let him die out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So what's on the agenda for you guys for this year? Are we just going to try and tread water and see if we can make it to the end of the year? Or are we counting on having a president? Or do we even care?
I mean,
JP's trying to go to Mars.
Yeah. I mean, they got the lava tunnels set up, so I'm out.
All right.
Fuck that, dude.
I don't know. I mean, what can you do? I mean, I feel like unless things start going back to normal, like I'm stuck at my job. It's not like I can quit. Where am I going to go?
It's hard to plan.
I've been fortunate to keep a job, so I'm just going to hold on to it no matter how much I hate it. Just things like that. You're kind of stuck.
I'm stockpiling the rations as much as I can and building up my arsenal. I got more guns. I lost them all in a weird boating accident. I don't know how to explain it. But I had a lot of good shit at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I hate it when you take your boat, your guns out for water skiing.
Yeah,
and they
most
fall
people
overboard.
keep their guns at home. I take mine out on a boat
Yeah.
on rocky waters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I lost
I think
all
you
my
should.
equipment. Yep. So don't come for my shit, guys. I have nothing.
Nothing. But Lake Michigan somewhere. Lots of guns down at the bottom there. Yeah, it's hard to plan. It's hard to plan for anything, you know, like you're like, oh, I'm going to go start my new business this year. Really? You know, you're like, how do I tread water? How do I stay employed? How do I not, you know,
that's something that's crazy to think about. You think about every year, how many people are like, oh, I got a great idea. I'm going to start this new business. Like we can't even have that right now. It's just everybody's on survival mode and all these restaurants are struggling and closing down, which, dude, the restaurants, man, can we talk about how stupid it is to have a restaurant and then have an outdoor restaurant and then you can sit in there? Like, what are we doing? How dumb
it is
can
the
we
dumbest
possibly
thing
be?
ever.
Well, every time I drive by a restaurant, I see the little outdoor tent situation. It just makes me want to like swallow a grenade, man. Like, what the hell is going on with mankind? How does that make any logical sense to anyone? And then they're doing that to all these restaurants, and then they're going through all this financial debt to set all this shit up and these heat lamps, and then they tell them they can't do that either. We have to close down. Like you're screwing so many families and people over with this shit. It's ridiculous. We have to fight back.
There's going to come a time when somebody, and I'm not advocating this,
I am
acknowledging, okay, I'm acknowledging where this is headed.
Yeah.
And there's somebody some smug politician is going to say something on television, walk away from that microphone bank, and some dude is going to come out of nowhere and just knock him out.
Yeah.
And I am going to say, oh, well, you had it coming to you, you piece of shit, you lying sack of shit politician who is making decisions, destroying people's livelihoods on bullshit science. I mean, it's not even in the ballpark of science. And then they have the audacity to say, trust the science. Go fuck yourself.
Amen.
Bring me real science first.
Yeah.
Bring me science that doesn't contradict itself. Bring me actual science. You know, don't tell me wear masks because they save lives when on the side of the box of the fucking masks it says does not prevent the transmission of coronavirus. And if you point this out to somebody, they just look at you like you're insane.
Yeah. That is the craziest shit, man. And it's so much.
This is what's making me frustrated with people, because like I don't want to talk to those people anymore ever again. I have no interest in converting them, waking them up. I'm getting to the point now where I'm just like, you are on your own, people. Yep. If you're this is willful ignorance. It's one thing to just be dumb, you know, and to be fair, there's a percentage that's just dumb. But then there's another group that sees their suffering or sees their sacrifice, their mask wearing, and all of this theater as being more noble than other people. And they'll never give it up because they think by acting this way, they're better than everybody. They're saving everybody. We should be thanking them.
Right.
And they don't understand that they look like idiots, and they don't understand that they are too comfortable in their own fear, that they want the fear, because at least with the fear, they have a purpose. And if their fear was gone, what would they do? What would they be afraid of? Would this have all been for nothing? I mean, at this point, let them have the victory. I don't care, but they got to knock this mask situation off. It's fucking retarded. I just don't know how else to say it. I
know it is. And how is it lasting this long, man? It's so crazy. How are people accepting this shit and just letting it happen? And just, I'll put my fucking mask on, magic cloth on my face, which does nothing, which I showed you a video earlier on Instagram, and there's people dancing and they got masks on and it's cold outside and all the what is it?
Like the hot air.
The hot air from their mouths coming out, just blasting right through the mask into their dancer's partner's face. And it's like, these masks don't do shit, man. These are magical cloths. It's not an M90.
You're gonna be eating each other's asses after this dance party anyway.
2021.
What are we doing here?
It's insane.
We're saying to each other with a straight face, you have to go down this aisle of the grocery store one direction, and then the other aisle the other direction.
I heard
because
about
of
that.
the
Is that
virus.
really going on? That's so crazy.
They got
Yes.
arrows on the floor.
Yes,
Like
there's
one-way
arrows on the floor that tell you which direction you're supposed to go down this aisle.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's a litmus test to see how stupid people are.
And how
I'm
much
convinced
we'll
of
abide
it.
by. Yeah.
And it makes me remember George Carlin's line. I mean, think of how stupid the average American is, and then realize that half of them are dumber than that. and this is where we are, man. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but I'm well past being tolerant of this insanity. And don't you dare drag me into your psychosis. You leave me the fuck alone. When I walk into a grocery store without a mask or whatever, wherever I go, don't you even get comfortable enough to think you're going to come up and tell me what to do. It will not go well. I just am in no, I'm not having that conversation with you people. Knock this shit off. Stop it. This is silly. You're all being dumb. And the numbers, 300,000 dead. No.
If you died, it was COVID.
6% of the number. That 6% didn't come from me. I didn't make it up. It came from the CDC, the same institution that you're getting all these other numbers that you're holding up as the gospel. First of all, I don't trust the CDC with anything, but they're the ones that put out the earlier in the summer, I don't know, August, September, something like that. That they're in an article talking about 160 something thousand dead from coronavirus. When you go down through it, it said of that, only 6% died from the coronavirus.
Right.
The other 94% died with the coronavirus, and on average 2.6 comorbidity conditions, which included heart disease and cancer. So we're not even basing our decisions on the real numbers. The media is telling you 160,000, which then goes to 200,000, which now is at like 300,000. But it's 300,000 times 6%. It's 18,000 dead in the United States, which is a lot of people, to be fair, but not in a statistical sense. It's not. It's not even a rounding error.
Right.
It's people getting hit on unicycles type of number, people getting hit by cars on unicycles types of numbers, I mean, it's preposterous that we're locking down the world for this. It's fucking preposterous. And so it's like, if we want to have the conversation about this and get this whole thing ironed out, we have got to start with getting everybody on board with the actual numbers, not the fake numbers, not the headline numbers, not the 300,000 number, because the 300,000 number is bullshit. They say it's bullshit 4 paragraphs down in the original, where they're talking about 6%. So it's like, if they'll ask people, like the Mark Dice man on the street interview, hey, let's interview stupid people thing.
Yep.
They've interviewed people on the street in America and said, how many Americans have died so far from the coronavirus? And some of the answers they get from these people are 11 million.
11 million.
11 million people. So there are people that are answering these questions. And maybe they've planted a real dummy in. I don't know. There are people out there that think that 11 million Americans have died from the coronavirus. No wonder they're wearing hazmat suits in their cars, you know?
Oh, that's the worst, man.
It's just, it's so, it's
How many
like,
people live in America?
10. 10 million. Charlie, have you lost any friends in your circle due to all this bullshit and disagreeing on beliefs?
you know what? I have a Facebook account, a personal Facebook account. I have a Octopus of Global Control Facebook account, and then I have a Macroaggressions account on Twitter. And my personal Facebook, first of all, I barely even go there anymore because it's like I went to boarding school for high school, and a lot of the guys I went to boarding school with went on to become doctors. Like probably half the guys in my class went on to become doctors. And and I see their pictures, sleeves up, getting injected, and I'm just like, you're so smart, and yet
Compromised.
you don't even see it. But then again, I worked in real estate in Las Vegas for a long time during the boom, and I didn't see the scam either. I didn't see the mortgage scam that was happening. So I mean, I can understand that how you can be smart, how you can be in the industry, and you can still get tricked.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, so I haven't lost a lot of friends over this, but I also don't volunteer my opinion on my personal page on this stuff because I don't think it'll even matter to a lot of people. And that's really kind of a sad thing because I sort of don't want to know which ones of my friends.
It's disappointing, man. I've lost.
Yeah, I don't want to be disappointed, so I kind of don't look.
Yeah, don't ask the questions you don't want answers to.
Yeah.
Have you lost any friends in your circles?
No.
Just don't think you're gay on the left.
Oh,
okay.
Majority.
There you go. Camouflage.
No, it's everything. That's just the kind of people I surround myself with, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. That says a lot because I have cousins that I can tell hate me on social media. I was talking about this earlier on my other show. They're so far left. A couple of them live in California, some of them back in Louisiana, and they're deep in it, and they're all pro mask and stop being a monster and put your damn mask on type mentality. And it just makes my insides hurt. I'm like, oh, you stupid fuck. How are we somehow connected?
Yeah.
I lost a childhood friend too. Fucking texted me and called me out on a bunch of shit. I'm like, dude, I couldn't even respond to him. I was like, dude, I can't even talk to you. Like, we're on so much different wavelengths. I can't communicate with you. So if that's what it is, be going.
Yeah. I mean, I have a limited amount of energy to put out on this stuff. And I'm not going to waste it on people that are unwilling or unable to process any information that conflicts with what they believe. If they're not willing to accept it, I'm not interested in having the conversation, the debate, whatever it is. If there's somebody that is genuinely interested in knowing more about some of these things that I've written books about or done podcast shows about, I'll talk to them. I'll talk to them and explain it to them as best as I can and as objectively as I can. And I'll let them know what my problems are with the mask situation and the vaccine situation. And I'll go as deep as they want me to, but I'm not going to try and convert people.
Yeah.
It's just,
I agree.
It's emotionally draining.
Mm-hmm.
They don't appreciate it. They want to fight you. I'm not religious, but I know how, like, now I kind of get it because this has turned a little bit like dogma and you feel like you're trying. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to like convert people to my way of thinking because I just want to try and educate people, but I don't get extra points if they come over to my side. I just think that I'm on my side because I've I've looked into a lot of these different things, and I have a much different opinion of them than the mainstream media or the established narrative. And that's because the mainstream media and the established narrative are a bunch of fucking liars. And so that's the reason why my beliefs are a lot more, they're different than a lot of my friends, because I'm getting my information from a different source, because I don't trust the source. I don't trust the established source, because how many times do they have to lie to you before you finally recognize that they cannot be trusted to tell you anything? Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to see the world differently than my friends that still think that Rachel Maddow is giving them, the straightest, most honest, unbiased information she can get her hands on. It's just, that's
She's
just
inspiring.
not true. You'll figure it out someday, or you won't. But like, if you're not there, if you're not adjacent to, like, maybe I'm not saying you have to be like, the mainstream media is the devil. That's where I am. I'm not saying you have to be there, but if you at least distrust them a little bit, you go, I don't know about, I don't know. I don't know if they're always telling me the truth. That's good enough for me. I can work with that.
Yeah.
And I can fill in the gaps to get you to where you'll be like, oh, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know they did that. I didn't know they did this. I didn't know they protected Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't know they spiked stories on this stuff. I didn't know that Bill Gates gives all of them hundreds of millions of dollars, all these media companies. I didn't know that. Of course not, because it doesn't get in the nightly news. So I've got energy for friends or listeners or whatever that are interested in knowing more about this stuff. But for somebody that's just, that is, I'm coming into it cold with them, and I don't know where they stand on any of this stuff. I'm not going to volunteer my opinion. I'm not going to bring it up. I'm not going to get into it with them.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because you're so knowledgeable about all this shit, man. You're like just a giant well of knowledge with this stuff. How do you avoid that kind of shit and just common hanging out, talking with guy friends and gals and stuff if you don't know where they stand? Like, how do you tiptoe around that shit?
It's tough because I know how crazy some of the stuff sounds that I say.
Sure.
I do recognize that. I know that if you don't know any of the backstory about any of this stuff, and you just like walk into a room when I'm midway through a podcast and you just start listening, I recognize that I will sound totally insane.
Yeah.
I get that.
Adrenochrome.
Right. I but
Harry
like
Potter spell is that shit.
Right. We're in like black belt level conspiracy classes, and somebody that's a white belt walking in, you don't expect them to understand all where you're coming from, and you don't expect them to not look at you like you're kind of insane, but I promise you that I'm at this point in my quest for information, or whatever, however you want to phrase it, where I've honestly done research on many topics. I've written 2 books now.
What are those books called again?
The Octopus of Global Control and the Controlled Demolition of the American Empire.
Available on Amazon or
Available on Amazon. #1 bestseller on Amazon in the US and Australia. Boom. Thank you very much. Boom.
Nice.
Congrats.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I've done enough research into this and invested enough time and effort and talked to so many people about this that this stuff is real. The things that we're talking about with like the pharmaceutical industry being convicted felons and pathological liars, and the role of the mainstream media, this stuff that we're talking about is undeniable. It's facts.
Mhm.
It's just that it's not mainstream facts because it paints the mainstream in a negative light.
Yeah.
So they don't talk about it. They pretend like it's not there. So it's like, what frustrates me when I do have these conversations, you're asking like if I bump into people and have these conversations, what frustrates me is that they assume because they've never heard about it, that it can't be true.
Right.
Oh, that's so
And if-
aggravating.
Right.
And what I'm saying is the first they've ever heard of it, it just can't be true because it's coming from me. But if the same message came to them on CNN, they'd believe it.
You know what's funny too is that if you know how many more people would watch the news if they told true news?
Damn,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
A
man.
lot. The world would watch the
It
news.
would be exciting.
Everybody would
Yeah.
tune in every night at 8:00 if they told the truth, like the real deep, dark
Damn, that would be
truth of
crazy.
shit. They'd be like glued.
Yeah.
I can't wait till tonight. We're gonna find out some more shit.
The
But
world
they
would probably go
can't.
into anarchy, but it would still be. I mean,
Yeah.
they'd be glued.
But the way it's structured makes it impossible for them
Yeah.
to tell the truth because they have an advertising model that
Yeah.
is dependent on corporations. And
Mhm.
corporations advertise there, industries advertise in the mainstream media, and they have power. And that's why when the mainstream media gets, when the nightly news gets 60% of their ad revenue from big pharma,
Mhm.
that's the reason why you're never going to hear a story on your nightly news bashing vaccines.
Yeah.
And so
Very
when
true.
when I tell you that vaccines are dangerous, you think I'm insane because it's the first time you've ever heard that. Now, the reason why you haven't heard it is money, because of ad dollars, because they can't talk about how dirty big pharma is and expect to get 60% of their ad revenue from them. So it creates this perception that there is only one side to the vaccine conversation, that they're safe and they've always been safe and that's it. And that those anti-vax people, they never get a voice there because the ad revenue won't allow it. So when your mom here, you bump into somebody's, and you're talking to somebody's mom or something, and they're talking to you about vaccines, and you say, well, actually they're quite dangerous. They have a very deadly history. They've paid out $4.2 billion to settle damages. That's more than the Catholic
Damn.
Church has paid out to settle rapes.
Yeah.
And that's through a rigged VAERS court. Now, you say that to this person who's never heard any of that before, and you are going to sound insane.
Yeah.
But everything that I just said is true.
Yeah.
And just because they didn't hear it doesn't make it any less true. So it's a battle it's not even a battle about the information. It's a battle about the source of the information. So like this lady will believe whatever she hears from CNN, this imaginary lady that I bump into, she'll believe anything she hears from CNN. So how do I compete with that?
Yeah.
I've got the facts. I've got the truth. They've got bullshit, but they come from a television. So they get this credibility for some reason.
We have to
even though
weaponize
that news
deepfakes.
is, even though it's all lie. They've been busted lying to people over and over and over again. It still doesn't matter. We're just hypnotized and brainwashed into thinking that the only source of credible news is from the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
And
You'll
that
have
is
to
just
go on as
wrong.
Rachel Maddow and the deepfake program and just spit it how it is, man. We'll hack CNN and get you on there.
Could
and
you
just
imagine?
wake the world up?
See, well, this is also kind of the beauty of podcasts and things like that, because instead of watching the news, you can tune into podcasts and listen to people like us chit chat about it. And
We would never lie to you if you listen.
And
I really hope not. I would never say anything that I honestly thought was not true.
Yeah.
Maybe
JP
I was
and I are-
wrong on a few things.
are learning constantly, so we're all sorting through it together, all this information.
And I think people will take that. They'll take their chances with information coming from, say, the three of us. if they trust that we wouldn't lie to them, they'll be willing to give us a little bit of a break if we get some of the things wrong, because at least they'll know that our intentions were in the right place.
Yeah.
I don't have that feeling with the mainstream media. I know what their intentions are. Their intentions are to manipulate me and to lie to me.
Question them. Yeah, you shouldn't have to question your source of news. You know, you shouldn't have to like turn on the news and be like, "Are you telling me the truth? Is that real?"
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to wonder that.
I had a sneeze coming, but it got away. If I blow up out of a sneeze out of nowhere, I apologize. It's only 50% COVID.
Did you get tested in both nostrils and test differently?
Just
like
anally. They said it was normal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good.
I've been tested for COVID before. Once.
I think I did early on in the beginning. I was
Negative.
sick. You were negative? I was negative too. And I think my daughter was too. And we both got tested because we were sick in the beginning in like March or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But guys our age, we're all
quick.
going to fight it off, most likely.
Oh yeah.
It's just another bad cold, basically, or going through the flu. It ain't
I'm
that big of a
not scared
deal.
to get it. I'm
not
really
either,
not.
man.
If
Bring
it
that
happens,
shit
it
on.
happens. And
COVID all over my chest right now. Sorry. I forget your grandma listens. I want to get into the UFO stuff with you, man.
Okay.
I really want to pick your brain about that. JP and I are fascinated with that shit lately.
what do you think about the 180-day countdown?
Oh God. I mean, you know, I always wanted disclosure, you know, and I'm like, you know, we want disclosure. And then you get Lou Elizondo and Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, and they're like, so you get the CIA guy and the Blink-182 guy, and they're like, hey guys, come here, look, I'm going to show you all this top secret alien stuff, and you're like, and we're this is disclosure, and I'm like, yeah, I want different disclosure. I don't want that dog shit. That's dumb. Or you get Corey Good and the Blue Chickens, and it's like this is not what this is nonsense. This is nonsense. Stop this stuff. I want Paul Hellier type stuff, who was a Canadian defense minister, and I think he's still alive. He's like in his 90s or something. And he like blew the whistle and was like, there are UFOs all over the place. I'm one of the highest ranking guys in the Canadian military, and I'm telling you, we need to take this shit seriously. And I don't know. He always seemed credible to me. Now I might find out later that he's, you know, whatever the Canadian CIA is or something, and I would be disappointed, of course. But
the Maple Leaf agents.
Yeah. I mean, but he seems, Paul Hellier seems credible to me. You get guys like, and I put a little bit of this in the Octopus book, Ben Rich, who is the CEO, the head of Lockheed Skunk Works. And he gave a presentation at UCLA talking about exotic propulsion. And he said that we have the technology to take ET home, and it won't take us a lifetime to get him there. You know, so he's saying that in a public speech. So frankly, that's a guy that would know. So it's kind of hard to know what to believe. You know, he didn't give that speech in front of a bunch of cameras. He gave it in front of a bunch of engineers. But one of the engineers that was there was, you know, later became like the head of MUFON. You know, so I don't know what to make of that even. So it's a tricky thing, because do I think there's, you know, secret technology out there? Yeah, for sure. I think there's secret technology. Do I think there's alien technology? I mean, like, it depends on how advanced it is. It would seem alien to us, you know? We don't know. We don't know if there was a breakaway in the technology world in 1900 where one faction got access to technology that the others didn't. And, you know, we don't know.
You know, it's something I just thought of that might not make any sense because I'm sorting it out in my head as we talk. But what if we figured out time travel later down the road, and that's the technology coming back to intervene with us?
Oh, so we've already
Like it's humans that
It's-
did
it's
it,
the
but it
future
seems
coming back.
alien, but it's futuristic.
future coming back
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
teaching us.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Because that could happen at any moment if it's time travel.
did I tell you guys my Area 51 story? I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did on your second appearance on our show, which
Yeah,
was really,
yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't mine. The guy.
It was
that
it was
Yeah,
through a friend,
and,
but it's still awesome.
you know,
story.
so like, what did he see? He saw advanced technology. He
and
saw
you
the
trust
type
that
of tech.
guy too, right?
I totally trusted.
Yeah.
I trust him. I don't. It's not so much that I trust him; it's that I had no reason to distrust him.
Yeah, for sure.
He was. I wasn't into this stuff. This was 1995 when he told me this stuff. Well, it happened, and it was either 1995 or 1996, and it was just an organic conversation that lasted over 2 different meetings about his experience. One before, so getting offered this opportunity to go to Area 51 by the government and take pictures, and then the other interaction I had when he came back after going and taking the gig. And I mean, it was just like he was not making up his physical response to it. The guy was frantic and like totally
that's how it would be too. That sounds very
paranoid.
believable.
He's exactly how you would think you would be if that experience actually happened to you, where you came back and you were just like, I can't talk inside. I can't talk on the phone.
Yeah.
And like we had this conversation outside of his photography studio, around the corner and behind the dumpster. Because he was so freaked out that we would be picked up on some hidden microphone in his own photo studio. Yeah. So like he was behaving in a way that made me believe him. And I had no reason to he had no reason to sell a story to me. I was a year out of college bartending. I was not writing books. It had never even crossed my mind at that point. So there was no grand setup here for him to leak information to me.
Right.
That would just be the most random coincidence ever. But
that situation.
And he'd really be selling it if he made you go out and do all that and, you know, hide and tell the story. I think he wouldn't go through all that. I don't think, if he was lying.
Do you believe Bob Lazar? I probably asked you that after you told us that story.
I believe Bob Lazar.
Yeah. Do you believe him?
Yeah. A lot of people say he's a kook, but I mean,
and you got to kind of
be.
He
has the proof. I mean, he has things.
Smart guys are always weird and off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, they recognize that element as an element, and it's public now. So
yeah,
I mean, he mentioned it a long time ago. The element, what was it, 151 or whatever it is?
135.
Yeah, and then that was
and then that element. Then they discovered it later, and it was.
Like,
I mean, I don't.
About this.
That's so crazy.
So I guess maybe one way to say it is that I believe that Bob Lazar believes that his experience was real, and maybe it was real, but is it possible that he could have been set up in a way made to think that he was seeing something alien? Of course, there's that possibility too. There always has to be, you always have to sort of admit that there's that possibility that he was duped. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think it is. It's not too much of a stretch to believe that our dirty, secretive, corrupt, pathological government, if it had access to that stuff, of course it would lie to us about it and hide it away and spend all of our money trying to, reverse engineer it and use it for its own good. I mean, you can't expect that the government would ever admit to being involved in it. Right. I just don't think that that's a reasonable expectation for people to hold out hope that the government is somehow going to admit we've known about the alien things for a long, long time. I think they may allow the media to expose it at some point as being a real thing. But then I think that they would play along like, we're just as surprised as the rest of you, when in actuality, they probably have some advanced knowledge of things. I don't know. I've never had a UFO experience. I've never had an extraterrestrial experience, but I have a very good friend who has. And she's a little kooky, which makes you think that her story is kind of bullshit. But her husband is like a straight-laced dude, like a straight-laced, no bullshit investment banker type of dude.
Mm-hmm.
And he confirmed her story about an alien encounter in their bedroom. And he said, I said, did you see it too? Because she said there was a gray at the foot of her bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, you
she's
told
like,
us the story on that episode. It's coming back to me now. That's
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to.
Yeah, that there's a gray alien at the foot of the bed. And she saw it, and she was not terribly surprised because she had said her entire life she had had UFO experiences. Now, I don't know
that
if
would
that
make
makes
somebody kooky.
yeah, see, and that's what makes you kind of sound a little kooky. But she's off the charts smart too. She wasn't like a drug
Maybe
addict,
that's why they
crazy.
targeted her.
Maybe. And so she was familiar with this and not as alarmed as the husband. The husband was like, I mean, think Mike Pence. Okay.
Yeah.
That type of guy, you
Straight
know,
edge
like,
guy.
Yeah.
like white devil, white guy. I personally like the guy. I mean, I this guy that I'm talking about, I like him, but he's a straight laced, no nonsense, no bullshit white guy. And he's saying it was right there. And I go, and you saw it? He said, huh. Not only did I see it, but my foot was uncovered from the blanket and it touched my foot and I felt like I was having a heart attack and I was fully paralyzed where I couldn't move and I couldn't comprehend what was happening except I was seeing it and I couldn't do anything about it. And when I hear a story from that guy with his disposition and his personality types, and we're talking about a multimillionaire, rich, guy that's just a grinder.
Basically, me is what you're describing.
Just like I was thinking, just like you.
Just say E. Willie, they'll get it.
Yeah. It just made it real to me, yeah. But I wasn't there. So it's like, until it happens to every single one of us, I guess it remains like as a question mark, but it's like, I don't have that many stories about those things, but that's one of them. And I mean, and yes, they were telling me this story over 2 bottles of wine, but that I think is the only way I was going to get the story out of the husband.
Reason. Yeah.
For
anybody listening that wants to hear more of that story that from Charlie and his friend though at the Area 51, it's a very interesting story. I just looked it up. It was episode 34. So check that shit out. It's a really cool story. And yeah, it sounds legit, man. I believe it.
Dude, I mean, for both of these stories, this is just the story that I was told, Right. I wasn't there at Area 51. I can't verify that. I just can verify that his behavior was consistent with how you would act with something like that. And his story, the funniest part, well, the most interesting part about his story at Area 51 to me was that I didn't even connect the dot until about 20 years later. So this happened in 95. Oh, wow. So 2015 was when I realized when he told me what they called that flying craft. I was watching a documentary, and in the documentary they said they were talking about the Nazi bell, the Der Glocken. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they were saying that the nickname for it was the Acorn.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, fuck, that's what he said it was. He said it was, they called it the Acorn. And so I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
He saw this thing. He had to have seen this thing. And then it's like, well, this was 1995. Did he see a documentary on it? You know, I mean, like, so you know, I suppose it's possible he could have been bullshitting, but man,
I don't think so.
Really,
I don't think
I
anybody
really
would go that
don't
far.
think so, because like I said, there was no incentive for him to concoct this big story. He was a totally sane and rational person. Before he was a guy who was referred to, you know. It was just everything about it was legit and authentic to me. Man, I just think it was a true story, but I get it. You know, it's like, unless you were there, you can't say with 100% certainty. You have to sort of leave the door open a little bit, but man, then to just see that documentary later and have him say the Acorn and go, that's what it was. That makes sense.
Right.
I was like, fuck, that's crazy. If he actually saw that, then that thing is okay. So then what does that mean? It means that they had this technology back in the mid 40s.
Yeah. So
what did they learn from this? Like, we're still rubbing sticks and stones together and shit, you know, in comparison to what if they've got this technology that can make this thing disappear and like reappear in another part of the sky, and then they've had 70 years to perfect that. Like, who's to say that we're not already on the moon?
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds crazy, but like, is it any crazier?
Supposedly we've been on Mars.
Well,
we've been there for a long time now.
Maybe.
I was watching this other documentary just the other night, and this guy that worked out at the Air Force Base in Nevada said that he came across the tall whites, and apparently they've been, that's what they're called. They've been in cahoots with those guys for a long time, and the alien race was like, yeah, you know, we'll help you guys out, but we know how you are. We're not going to give you all of our secrets and everything. We'll teach you some stuff and we'll help you out, but we know how you act. You know, you guys make weapons and you do all this craziness, and you're not ready for this kind of technology. But he helped them. You know, they helped them.
Crazy, man.
And I think that's where they got a lot of that stuff out of the
iPhone
Area
7.
51 and things like that. And they just helped them with technology a little, but they're not giving them all the secrets.
And that's just one species or one race of aliens too. I'm sure we've been intertwined with a lot of different ones. I think we probably have been involved with some stupid aliens too, like probably my ancestors. Like, they came and crossbred with some humans, and they were like, we can't really learn shit from these guys. Let's nuke them. Because you know they got to have some dumb aliens out there. We can't all be like superior intelligence.
Well,
like,
like,
it just depends on the time of their world. Like, maybe they're 4 million years ahead of us, or
yeah, sure. I didn't thought about that. Like,
I mean, anyone's less than us are probably dumber than us, so they're probably not going to make it here.
Yeah,
we can't even.
We have COVID now too, so if any bad aliens want to come visit, you're gonna die instantly. Because COVID is deadly and it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
We were gonna do this in studio, but it's too damn dangerous. COVID's everywhere.
I'm giving it to you through this microphone.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna become immune to it.
Yeah. Did you ever hear? Did we talk about this before? Did you ever hear Billy Corgan on Howard Stern talking about his experience seeing a guy shapeshift into a reptilian and back?
I don't know if we've talked about it, but it's super interesting.
I've seen a lot of videos of that happening, especially with the eyes.
Yeah.
It seems like when people are on TV, the eyes will flip real quick and go back.
Well, he basically said like they like full blown trans. They changed on him, and it was somebody he knew, and then they went back to it. And he said, "How did that go, Charlie? How was it played out?"
He said he was at a like a cocktail party, and there was a guy that was sort of off a little bit out of his peripheral vision, and he for some reason sort of turned a little bit and caught a look at this guy, and when they locked the eyes on him, the dude shifted into a straight up reptilian.
Jesus.
And then shifted back and then gave him kind of a look, and his response to Howard Stern was, "I saw something I cannot explain."
That's so scary because it sounds like what you would say if it had really happened to you
Yeah.
too. Like,
Exactly.
I have no fucking explanation for this shit.
Yeah, that's exactly why there's sometimes, I don't know if it's the people or if it's the way they tell the story, but there's sometimes I hear kind of an outrageous story and I just get the feeling that it's true.
Yeah.
And this is one of those stories that there's nothing scientific about this at all. I recognize that. It's just a gut feeling. The way Billy Corgan told that story was he undersold the shit out of it.
For his own sanity.
Because
an image,
he knew he was going to sound crazy.
Yeah.
So he just downplayed it to the point that he basically, I felt like he said it the way I would say it. If it had happened to me, I would say, I turned around, I saw this dude, he turned into what can only be described as a reptile form right in front of my eyes. He then shifted back to a human, stared me down, and I cannot explain what I saw. That's the only way. That's how I would describe it. I mean, that's the only. And so when you hear him say that, and they are asking a million questions, he's like, do you know? No, he's like, do you know who he is? Do you know where he went? I don't know who he is. I don't know. I don't recognize him. He was just some dude at a Hollywood party. Were you drinking? No, I was not. Were you on drugs? No, I was not on drugs. I was totally 100% sober. I had just gotten to this party, and I don't know. I believe that story. And you know what other outrageous UFO type story I just have always believed is
hang on, Charlie. I don't want to go over it just quick. Hang on to that story. The lizard guy, how he transformed and then like kind of like almost like a static kind of a thing. Do you think that's some kind of like battery thing going low on them, and like whatever they're using to look like people is some type of energy and it kind of flickers?
And that glitch?
Yeah, like some kind of glitch or do you think that's a purpose intent?
I think
it seems like it happens often.
I think it is intentional. I think it's
they're
a
fucking
little
with us.
I think it is. I think it's a little bit of a warning sometimes. Yeah. A little. You want some? You want? I'll show you what's up.
Smashing pumpkins. I'm gonna smash your skull.
Yeah, I know who you are. You know who I am? I bet you there's some, you would think there, I mean, if it, I don't know how it works. I don't know if this is an interdimensional thing. I don't know if this is like a demonic body possession type thing. I don't know if these are hybrids. Yeah. I don't know if these are synthetic people. Fuck, I don't know. But
let's make a pact that if we ever come across a reptilian transformation, that we can't lie about it. It's real. It happened.
Oh, I couldn't wait to get on the show and talk about it.
Dude, I got a cheers to you,
man.
I
will tell you, oh boy, you wait. I got a story.
But in this, you hear these stories from time to time, and it's, they're tough to verify. How do you prove that? Like if you're Billy Corgan, you open yourself up to enormous humiliation, and you have no way to prove it.
And you're a musician too, so you're already kind of like this.
And you're a musician, and you could be
weird
dismissed and everything, except that Billy Corgan is a serious dude who is a really intelligent, kind of deep thinking dude.
Mm-hmm.
And a
lover of wrestling. Shout out to Mom.
And a lover of wrestling too. Yeah, he owns a wrestling league.
Yeah.
And so for him to a guy who's measured in what he says, I guess is sort of my point. And yet he said it.
Yeah.
And he didn't back down from it at all. He just said, "This is what I saw." And it's like, I don't know. It just seemed like that just seemed like a true story. It just seemed like a guy telling you a crazy but true story.
Yeah.
And you also, you just think like, he could be lying, but would he really want to open himself up to the ridicule of that?
Yeah, what would he gain out of that? It's
What would he
all
gain?
negative.
What would he gain?
Yeah.
There's no upside for him saying that, but yet it's like he just kind of had to say it a little bit.
I could see
I don't
Howard
know.
Stern
I'm
being
fascinated.
an alien or a reptile. That's a strange looking cat. Howard Stern.
He's a strange dude.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah. So what was
Yeah.
your other story you were about to go into? I rudely
Well, oh yeah.
interrupted you.
Well, I was gonna say, another like UFO story that people have heard before. It's not really technically a UFO story, but it's about spaceships. Is the Gary McKinnon story? The guy from the UK in like 1999 who hacked into NASA. The NASA computers. It wasn't even really a hack technically. He just knew how to access their computers, and he would, if they had passwords at all, which a lot of them didn't, if they had passwords, the passwords he'd try admin, and that would usually get him in. So he was just,
come on, NASA.
yeah,
What's your password?
yeah,
Password.
and
NASA,
he
1955.
he went through these computers at night. Well, I guess daytime where he was, nighttime, nighttime NASA time, when no one was there, he would log into these computers and look through the files and look to see if he could find anything cool. And he did it for like 2 years. I mean, like every night. He did it for a long, long time. And he finally found something that said, that talked about non-terrestrial officers and fleet-to-fleet transfers and things like this. And the USS Roscoe Hillenkotter, which is the United States spaceship, Roscoe Hillenkotter, and so he told this story of how he found this information, spreadsheets and all this, whatever. And he was asked about the story a couple times. His story always stayed the same. It didn't waver. He never added on more to it. The feds came after him big time, wanted to throw him in prison for like 20 years, wanted to fine him like
nerves.
They wanted to fine him like millions of dollars for damaging computers. He literally was like typing admin. He wasn't damaging. Yeah. So like their oversized reaction to him and trying to prosecute him and like finally having to admit they didn't have a good enough case and letting him off. Like that massive overreaction by the United States government towards him made it a little bit more believable to me, and the fact that his story never changed and the fact that he, he said he was trying to download pictures, but he was doing it with like the 56K modem, because it was like back in the day and pictures were taking forever and a lot of times stuck. they wouldn't download all the way, or sometimes the people would realize that their computers were being used and would shut them down and things like that. And so anyway, he didn't wind up with like the photographic proof that everybody wanted, which is obviously the downside, but his story always remained very convincing and very it never changed. It just was sort of this. He didn't pull a Corey Good where he's like, oh, and then the blue chickens took me there. Oh, and then the blue chickens took me to this other dimension. And and it just kind of goes on and on and on. With Gary McKinnon, it's like, I told you what the story is. That's all I got, And so it just seems a little bit more believable that way.
That'd be so cool if you could just access that stuff nowadays.
Cool. I'd be scared too, man. Fucking
well, you could. It's called WikiLeaks.
Come over my house and kill me.
WikiLeaks got all that stuff. That's why that's why Assange is rotting away in a prison cell, because he was basically doing the Gary McKinnon before,
Yeah.
But on a much
Charlie,
bigger scale.
You're much smarter than we are. What does it mean that Julian Assange has been pardoned by Donald Trump? Does that mean he's going to be able to be free? How does that play out?
Oh, well, he hasn't been pardoned by Donald Trump.
Oh, he hasn't?
No,
I heard it. Must have heard an Onion report.
no,
I
it's
thought
not.
they announced that he was being pardoned. Shit, I don't
No,
know.
they would like for him to be pardoned for sure, but that has not happened.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna edit that part out.
If
I'm sounding like an idiot.
if it does, that would be fantastic. It should happen because it's a real problem for journalism. It's a real problem for holding these motherfuckers accountable. If you can't, if there's no free press, you're no better than the Soviet Union.
Right.
It's just
Definitely.
it's that big of a deal. And yes, the mainstream media lies to us, and yes, they're pathological, but
Roger Stone was pardoned though, right? Did I get that right?
yes.
Okay. About to sound like I need to freaking recheck my information source.
Yeah.
I thought Julian was pardoned.
No, that is. I mean, I hope
he needs to be. Damn it.
He needs to be. He should have done it before the election. I don't know. I mean, why would you hold? I mean, Trump would have gotten more votes if he'd.
Does it matter at this point, man? The votes are just as bad as COVID numbers.
I know. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're right. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter.
We're living in an information war for sure, man.
They would change those votes into Biden votes.
Yeah, all those votes would have went to Biden anyway.
Yeah,
fucking crazy, man.
The guy that couldn't get 12 people to show up at his rallies.
Yeah, and had records for votes.
He had a live stream, man. He had a live stream like some inauguration type thing. I don't know. He was doing it was like 2 weeks ago. And he had like 4,100 people were watching his live stream. And that same night, Tim Pool was doing a live stream that got 13 times more viewers than Joe Biden.
Wow, that is so crazy, man. That alone right there is proof.
It's like, listen, I get it. That doesn't prove voter fraud. But can we at least acknowledge that there were not 80 million people that voted for Joe Biden? Yeah. I mean,
the sad thing is everybody that believes that shit and wants Trump out of there so bad, they don't even care who Joe Biden is.
I know.
They hate Trump so much that they're all about it. They're like, oh, you just a sore loser. You just can't handle it.
And I get it. Listen, I'm no fan of Donald Trump either. I don't like any of these people.
For the record, I'm not left or right. I want a damn normal world where we have some common sense.
Me too. That's all I want. And I have no tolerance for either side, protecting and pretending that like their guy isn't just as crazy.
Yeah.
They've got to get over that. But so I'm not on the right and I'm not on the left. I'm just looking objectively and I'm saying, I'm sorry that you are not going to convince me that there were 80 million people that voted for Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. I did not see anybody. I've never seen a presidential campaign with less enthusiasm in my entire life. And I acknowledge that there are tens of millions of people that will vote for Joe Biden simply because he's not Donald Trump. I fully acknowledge that. But you cannot convince me that 15% more people voted for Joe Biden than voted for Obama. Yeah, when Obama was selling out stadiums like he was the Rolling Stones.
I remember when we didn't know much about Obama early on and it was his first run. Everybody, even my friends, everybody, I was really ignorant to politics around that time. I just didn't give a shit. I thought it was all the same crap. So I stayed out of it. But I had so many friends come and tell me that, man, Obama, something about him. The way he speaks, he's just very inspirational. He gives us hope. He had so much more hype behind him than Grandpa Biden, man. It's just a joke.
And
what's up with Biden's eyeballs too, man? Why is he beady-eyed now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for the record, I don't like Obama. I don't like his policies. I didn't like what he did. But if I'm being objective, when he was running for office, actually, even when he was president, he's very charismatic. I know a lot of people just hate him, but like he had a rap, man. He could talk to people. He could, he had a style to him. that that would make you like him if you didn't know that he was drone bombing wedding parties. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like,
If you just looked at all the surface bullshit.
yeah, but
the
there
theatrics of it all.
was
Correct.
massive amounts of enthusiasm around Obama. He was a legit superstar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden, did you see? I mean, be honest. How many Joe Biden signs did you see in people's yards? 4?
I can only think of one person who was actually
I've seen
behind,
a lot of
behind
Trump
Joe
signs.
Biden. And
How
that's-
many
that's
Trump
just
signs
because
did you?
they're
How many
Dems
Trump
or
signs
whatever.
did you see?
Trump signs
500?
are all over in
They're still
North
up.
Colorado.
They're
yeah.
still up. I haven't seen any Biden signs still
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's a good point. They're still up, and people are taking their Biden signs down.
Yeah.
With Kamala Harris signs up. Did you
So,
see that
I mean-
bullshit? My buddy that I had on earlier today tweeted her first words in that that magazine or whatever the hell interviewed her. Her first words were freedom. Can you imagine a little girl? Her first
Yeah.
words, freedom.
Yeah. Well,
Horseshit.
the story
Hell
that
says
the story that she told to that reporter was a story she ripped off from Martin Luther King Jr., who told that story in a Playboy article interview back in the 60s. And she pulled that story. She ripped off Martin Luther King and told that story like it was her own.
Martin
Wow.
Luther King was
That's
in Playboy?
Kamala Harris. That happened
Oh,
yesterday.
interview,
Nah, man.
That
Yeah.
happened
What Playboy
yesterday.
was that?
She's a piece of shit.
She is,
Oh, yeah.
man. She's
For the record,
transparent
Oh, yeah.
garbage, man.
she's a phony. She's a fakety fake Santa.
Mhm.
Mother
She's
faker.
She's a mother faker.
she's the worst, man. And
Yeah.
and that's what there's a huge portion of the population that thinks she's bringing dignity back to the White House.
Jeez.
Those
and it's
people,
like-
let's pray for them. A moment of silence for all the idiots out there.
I mean, if you want to, but
It's a sad
dude-
world we live in right now,
this-
man.
it's
We're divided by. I don't even think calling them asleep is fair, man. They're just stupid. They're just plain stupid to buy all that bullshit.
Yeah. And look, man, I'm not saying that you have to believe in lizard people or aliens or anything. I mean, we've talked about all kinds of crazy shit tonight.
Yeah.
But you do have to recognize that when a politician is giving an interview about when she was a little girl and how this whole thing, she fell out of the stroller and they asked, what are you mad about? And she said, freedom.
Women's whites.
That story is stolen, not from her cousin, from Martin Luther King Jr.
Jesus.
She
I didn't know
stole
that
it
one
from
was-
That's
him.
so dirty, man.
She
People
stole
have
it
the
from
internet.
him.
Did she not realize that?
That's
We're
what a
gonna find
piece
that
of
out.
shit
You
Kamala
found it out
Harris
already?
is.
Yeah.
That
And then people are gonna eat that shit up too. Like, oh my god, she's so inspiring. Even as a little precious angel.
Mhm.
That's why we need a free press. That's why we need the alternative media, because the establishment media won't tell you that she just got busted stealing that from Martin
Mhm.
Luther King, because they want to paint a different picture of her. That's why you have to have freedom of the press. You have to have the alternative media. You have to not have it choked out, financially the way it's being done right now, or censored through the platforms. We have to have that, because it's important for people to realize that the vice president to be, more than likely, though that there's an asterisk there, just ripped off a story from Martin Luther King Jr. and passed it off as their own and did it with a straight face and got busted.
Jeez.
And you're not
So
supposed
dirty.
to know she got busted doing it. That's a piece of shit of epic proportions. And that's who the new vice president's going to be.
But she ain't
So-
orange
so-
though.
See, this,
She-
that-
but-
this
but-
is where it
but at
goes
least
back to
she's
what we
not-
hate being lied to. This
Yeah,
At least
it all
she's
comes
not
back to
Donald
it.
Trump,
Well said,
right?
JP. Yep.
At least she's not Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Because if Donald Trump did that, Could you
Oh,
imagine?
man, that would be bad.
Could you even imagine this? Holy shit. It'd be like, you might as well say he plagiarized Hitler.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, oh, stole Martin Luther King's speech. Have he no shame to do that to the black community leader? Where are the
Racist
Democrats
bigot.
saying that? Where are the Democrats saying that? Where's Al Sharpton saying what the fuck is going on here? Where's Jesse Jackson?
Is there a
All
worse
up in
person
arms.
than Al Sharpton?
Fucking crickets from these people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those establishment FBI rat Al Sharpton.
I
Implicated
despise
in
that
the
guy.
implicated in the murder of Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson with him, implicated in it. These motherfuckers.
They're demons.
Nobody's
man.
gonna hold, you know, the vice president of the United States accountable for stealing a story from Martin Luther King Jr. and claiming it as her own. What are we doing? We're just going to pretend like that shit's not happening? Like, this is insane to me.
And if you post about it on social media, you're going to get fact checked on it. That's the world we're living in.
I hope they fact check it.
Exactly.
Check
Yeah.
the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, no,
Yeah.
well, you can't trust this person who posted this. They said they were starting a
Exactly.
diet. They obviously didn't. It's me.
My social credit score goes down.
Yeah. Speaking of, Amy says WTF. I think she got banned on Instagram. Her account's going now.
Really?
Yeah, I need to reach out to her.
Oh, yeah.
Amy's would be a great guest for you.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
she comes
I-
back, she's taking a little hiatus right now, but she would be an awesome guest. You two would be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, we had her on Union of the Unwanted, I think. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure she was on there. Everyone keeps talking about her, and we were like Twitter friends.
Yeah.
Or
You know
something.
about Diamond Dave, Generation Z? He's a really young cat, man. He's super smart. I want to get you guys linked up too. He would be a fun
Cool.
conversation for you. Great
This
guy.
Right on.
This dude retains information like
Yeah, he's on your guys' level, man. He's that's why I call him Diamond Dave. He's a diamond in the rough.
Whenever I hear Diamond Dave, I think Diamond David Lee Roth, man.
Oh, I didn't know they called him that. That's funny. David
Oh,
Lee Roth
yeah.
was Diamond David Lee Roth.
Fuck yeah. That was back in his spandex days.
Well, we don't have 6 questions for a third time guest, but I just came up with some bullshit.
This is like your fourth, fifth.
Third time solo though.
Oh,
Third
so-
solo time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once with the swap cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
And I
of
think you came for our 50th too with everybody.
Oh yeah.
yeah, Charlie's the man, bro.
Yeah,
That's why you're the goat, the podcast goat. And Macroaggressions is on fire, and I have a driving gig coming up too, so I'm gonna have a lot of time to catch up with some episodes.
Nice.
You've had so many awesome subjects and guests on. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
How many episodes did you put out last year? 1,000? 2,000?
I did. I started, my first one went out March 7th, and I did 86, I think.
Jeez.
Damn, dude, you're on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot. But it was fun. I mean, it seems like a lot now looking back on it, but at the time it's just you just do one show.
Mm-hmm.
And then another day, 2 days later, you do another show, and and so it's
And
when
it's
you do
all
it that way.
quality, so it's not like you're just pumping out bullshit. You're pumping out some serious, deep conversations with great guests and awesome topics.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
trying to. I
impressive.
mean, from time to time, though, I mean, I still want to like geek out and talk about let's talk about Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
talk.
yeah.
Let's
That's
take
where
our
you come here,
credibility
buddy.
and just blow it to smithereens here. Let's talk Hollow Earth. I mean, so I like to. I like it all. I'd like to, have like a serious conversation with some dude, but I also like to speculate about like, do you think there's TR-3Bs that are going to the
Mhm.
moon? Like, I don't know. Fuck, maybe. Let's get high and think about it.
Let's get high and think. That's why you're an
Those are
awesome
fun
cat.
episodes. I love those episodes.
So our new segment, I just made up like 5 minutes ago in my head. This is going to be rapid fire. JP,
Okay.
you're involved too, since he has no idea, I have no idea, you have no idea. It's going to be perfect.
This is
So-
what could possibly go wrong?
I'm going to kick it off. We're going to ask you 5 questions each, and we have to ask them off the cuff,
I don't have
random
that question.
bullshit, just stupidest shit you can think of. And all you have to say is yes or no, whether you believe it or not. Or should we do truth or theory? Just truth or false? Let's do true or false. Let's do true or false. With it.
Okay. Okay.
All you have to say is true or false. You don't have to break it down or anything. We're just gonna.
Okay.
It's gonna
All
be
right.
pure stupidity. So-
Okay.
Trying to think of questions now.
Just think of some dumb shit. All right,
Mhm.
number 1 of my 5. Michelle Obama, man or woman? No, Michelle Obama is a man. I know it's a complicated one. Monica hates when I bring that up.
I'm gonna say false, but
Okay, I'm
but
leaning on that one, man. I don't know. I'm lost.
I'm gonna say
on it.
false, but I you can maybe tell by my answer. I'm not
Yeah, it's a
fully
questionable
comfortable
one.
with it.
I don't think she is either, or it is either. JP, think of some random stupid shit you want to ask Charlie. Anything you want. He's an open book.
Hitler escaped and he's living in Antarctica. True or false?
Ooh.
Hitler
Well,
escaped.
Yeah, he's
Hitler
probably dead
escaped
by
and-
now, but
Yeah, Hitler escaped and living in South America. Absolutely,
You said
absolutely.
Antarctica, though, huh?
I've heard both.
I've heard
I don't know about
Argentina.
the Antarctica, but
Yeah.
there's ample evidence of those
Argentina, right?
guys. What's that?
Argentina, isn't that where he really ended up at? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The real southern tip of Argentina. Yeah, there is a huge German community there. There's ample evidence that Hitler got out of there. It was not in his personality to quit. That is a dude, like the idea of him shooting himself. None of that stuff
No.
makes sense to me. That's a dude that would sell his people out for sure and bail like a coward.
Yeah,
But
he had a
shooting
body
himself?
double too. So the
Yeah,
body
body
double
doubles,
is probably
yeah.
the one that was suicided.
Yeah, I think Hitler escaped for sure.
Okay.
All right.
That was a good one, by the way. For off
Yeah,
the cuff, that
he's-
was a fucking great question.
He doesn't. He's coming in here
Well,
with
we
no
were talking about the
confidence.
bell, and I watched a documentary that
Oh, okay,
he
okay.
made
Okay.
of the
That
bell
makes
in
sense.
Antarctica, and there's like photos
Yeah, and
of him
and-
shooting down
and
submarines
dude,
and stuff.
talk about like fun conversation to geek out about, but I don't know if any of it's true. Antarctica is really interesting
yeah.
to me.
Oh, I've
Like
been
when
digging
the
into
Pope goes
lately.
down, like Archbishop Kirill went down there, and John Kerry went down there, and some of these,
Protected by the UN.
yeah,
That's
real
the entrance to Agartha.
it's
Ooh.
like real sketchy
getting me
stuff. Then you hear these stories of the flight crew that went over that part of the restricted airspace, and they saw a huge hole there. I mean,
Yeah.
fuck, I don't know if that's true, but I listened to like 2 hours of it on Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Somebody that was telling the story about it, and so it's like, I think that stuff's fascinating. Like, dude,
Yeah.
would I stake my reputation or whatever my reputation is on it? No, I don't. I don't have any special information that anybody else has, about Antarctica. I just think it's interesting. I just think I just think what could potentially be going down. All the people that had those, like the bracelets that you're wearing, like the up bracelets or what, the ones that like measure your heart rate and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's like an app where it'll show where they are all over the world. And there was like a bunch of them in Antarctica. Do you
Well,
remember
I didn't
that?
know about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Damn.
Yeah. It was
Dude,
one of
that's
those
wild.
company. I forget which company it was, but one that makes like the sense.
Somebody screwed up.
Like the
Wearable
Fitbits or something
bracelets.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposed to
and-
turn
and-
locations off. Damn it.
yeah. And they were a bunch of them that were lighting up in Antarctica.
Interesting.
Damn. All right.
I mean, and look, there's bases there. We know that, and that's
Yeah.
not a secret. But how many bases are there? Are they our bases? Were they someone else's
Ooh.
bases?
And it's funny, on Google Earth, you can only ever see the outside rim of it. Like
Yep.
you can zoom in on some parts like that and see bases, but anything towards
Mm.
the center, it's nothing.
Nothing.
That you
That's
can't
so
see
shady.
nothing.
Pun intended.
Totally shady.
Okay. My question.
Okay.
JP, is he a Homo sapien? JP is a Homo sapien and not a reptilian. True or false?
He
I wish
is
I
a
could do
Homo
it with my
sapien.
eyes right now.
I'm gonna edit it in there on your face.
He is
Homo sapien.
Homo sapien. Yes.
Okay.
Final answer.
That
I'm a
makes me feel
human
better.
being.
That makes me feel better.
It should.
Sit next
He's
to
not
this
gonna
cat
eat
all the
you
time.
after this. If he listen, If he was a reptilian, he would have eaten your ass by now.
I mean, I got a great ass. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. and you know, so I think he's passed the test.
Okay. True or false? Do you believe we will be a communist country within the next 5 years?
Ooh, JP coming with the fire.
Maybe not
How many? You
officially,
said 5
maybe
years?
not like officially a communist country, but we're
In
a communist
denial.
country. Yeah.
A communist country in denial.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that was a good question.
Ooh,
Bert.
that's not what I wanted you to say.
Yeah.
Not as long as I'm alive, damn it.
Yeah. I mean, in some way, in many ways, I think so. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, they're
Episode
already
just went
making
dark.
it. They're already, you know, destroying small, medium-sized businesses. They're trying to lure, you know, bribe people with small stimulus checks. Talking about universal basic income. They're already getting people like totally dependent on the system.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, they're gonna make, you know, the system more. You got to, in order to get your UBI, you have to have your vaccine. You have to show that you've been vaccinated, and it's got to get fed into this regulatory system that keeps
Yeah,
track of all that
shit,
stuff
man.
for your health passports and all that stuff. And the system gets bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
Dude,
you
they're going to
become-
do it. I just realized they're going to do it on social media, too. This blue check mark bullshit, there's going to be a vaccination version of it, too. And you'll just stand out like a sore thumb if you hadn't gotten vaccinated. They're like, oh, look at this fuck. I'm not going to comment on his
Dude,
post.
don't even give them any ideas. But I'm
Sorry,
sure
guys. I'm deleting that out, too.
they probably already thought of that. But
Shit.
like that's
That's the world we're going into.
yeah. I mean, unless things change, unless enough people wake up to it and realize, you know, this is we're headed in the wrong direction. But I don't have much faith in people because they can't even wrap their heads around the mask debate. You think they're going to
Yeah.
understand that they're being slowly slid into forced communism? They would never even know where to begin to
Yeah,
unpack
very
that.
good, sad point there. That is very true.
Yeah.
All right, my last rapid fire question.
Cool.
Comet Pizza was an underground sex trafficking joint. True or false? You got one more, GP.
There was something going on there.
True.
I mean, you're James Alefantis. You're the 49th most powerful person in Washington, D.C., and you own a pizza place in Washington, D.C., not Lincoln,
Just the
Nebraska.
artwork alone and all the performances there is super questionable too.
Not Lincoln, Nebraska. Washington, D.C.,
Yep,
the power
hub.
center of the world. And you're the 49th most powerful person and you own a pizza place?
Named Comet Pizza. What kind of bullshit is that?
And you have really sketchy art all over the place in the
Please name it.
bathrooms and
And
everything?
High political people that want to eat your stupid pizza
Yeah.
at your stupid pizza joint.
I don't have proof of
I do.
trafficking
I
or
got the
any of that
documents.
shit. But I do know that in Washington, D.C., that shit happens. So it is possible that it was happening at Comet Ping Pong. But it's also possible that it wasn't, too. I don't know because I wasn't
Spoiler alert,
there.
was.
But I do know that so like the story itself of like trafficking happening of kids in Washington, D.C., that's all real for sure. The question isn't, is that happening? That's happening. The question is it happening at that pizza place? And that is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do have questions about, you know, who James Alefantis is. And I know that his boyfriend, David Brock, is a piece of shit. I know that for certain. So, you know, he's not starting on. Yeah, I know that they're really good friends with the Podestas, and I know that those guys are
Those
up
are
to
great.
no good.
That's a great family, the Podestas. Yeah, you can trust them.
Yeah, and the Clintons and all that, you know. So
I heard they're opening a daycare. I'm excited about
right.
it.
So I do know who these people are that are friends with the owners, and they're the worst people in the world.
Yep. Demons.
So so look, if it's not happening there, they can't act too surprised when people start to wonder. When you've got the Podestas and the Clintons and, you know, all these sketchy people, and you put sketchy artwork showing like kids getting tortured on the walls and really super like X-rated type shit in the bathrooms, like the artwork in there, the bathrooms that at a pizza place where, you know, kids can go, where it's saying like, get down and suck this dick, you know, like, and, you know, like painted on the wall, like what, you know, you can't do that. You can't make that, build up that establishment. You can't have the connections that you have and then act surprised when people think that there might be something unsavory going on there, you know? So it's like, I can't say for certain that it was happening there, but I can say for certain that it happens in Washington, DC. And I can say for certain that the friends of the owners are the worst people in Washington, DC. So, you know, A plus B equals C. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. There's a common denominator there.
Yeah.
All right, JP, your last rapid fire question. What you got, brother?
Last rapid fire question. Having more than 5 fingers on one hand is an advantage. True or false?
What? Where the hell did you come up with that?
You said weird or not?
Say it again.
Having more than 5 fingers on one hand is an advantage. True or false?
That's nasty.
No, because nothing's made for you. Nothing. There's no gloves. There's
what
no
side of the hand would it be on?
You don't. I mean, unless like.
I seen
unless
it was an Instagram video, and he had.
Unless
6
you were a
fingers on each
pitcher,
hand, and it looked like a normal hand, just with 6 fingers on each hand. And I was like, wow, that's kind of like an advantage. You could grab stuff easier and this and that.
I'm thinking about it from a baseball perspective, and I'm thinking if maybe you had an extra finger on there, you could get like a really sick curveball. I don't know. Probably not, though. I'm going to say probably not an advantage.
I like the weirdness of that question, but it creeps me out.
I just thought it was weird, that video I seen, because his hands look so normal. Like they look like normal hands until you counted the fingers, and you're like, wait a minute, he's got 6
this
fingers.
is a real thing?
Oh, yeah. He
No,
had
you have
6
to show it
fingers
to
on
me.
each hand, and I was like,
I have like a phobia
Whoa.
of disformities. That shit freaks me out so bad.
but it didn't look weird, though. That was the thing about it. It was just like you did like a double take, because you're like, that didn't count out, you know?
That's crazy.
That's funny. Yeah.
I think I'd rather have less fingers, Ninja Turtle 3 fingers, than 6 of them.
It's like Lobster Boy.
Come to see the lobster boy. Step right up.
Oh, man.
All right, that concludes our stupid new segment of rapid fire questions for our third time solo guest
That was kind of
appearances.
fun. We should do that with any returning guest after the second time.
Our next third time is Carlisle Forrester, which was going to be fun because we're going to ask her some pretty stupid questions.
We got to hit Monica with him, too, because
Monica will be back soon.
times.
We're going to have Monica, Brad Binkley, and Charlie back too once this election shit's resolved, and we can do a conclusion to our 2020 is going to the end of the world, whatever the hell we named it.
Yeah.
Because nothing's happened decisively since then. It's been freaking chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get we'll wait until they figure it out who the president is going to be. And then after the riots, or maybe we'll do it during the riots.
Yeah, we'll do it
Future
at a
riots.
riot. That would be the coolest podcast ever.
Yeah.
In riot gear.
Yeah.
Shit
Yeah.
thrown at us.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, Charlie, plug your stuff, and thank you so much for coming on our show and being our first time guest both years. It's an honor for us. We love you.
Thank you. I love you guys too. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy talking about all kinds of crazy shit with you guys. The podcast is called Macroaggressions. It is on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Rockfin now, and Iconic, David Icke's video platform, Iconic. And
the powerful
book,
David Icke.
The powerful David Icke. Yeah, I had him on my show. I was so stoked to get him on.
That's so awesome.
And he's just got lots to say. So it's the easiest interview too. You're like, ladies and gentlemen, David Icke. And then at the end, you're like, ladies and gentlemen, that was David Icke. And then you're done.
That's how it is when we have the bishop on.
Let him go.
Wind the bishop up and let him.
Exactly. Yeah. You get Bishop Gators going. You can go for a piss and come back in a little while. He'll still be talking. Yeah. Yeah.
That's piss,
So
P-I-S-S, piss.
from the origins of the word, from the Greek, and you're like, God damn, you know.
Somebody needs to protect that guy, man. He's a freaking diamond. It's just the guy's,
Encyclopedia.
yeah, he's incredible.
I love Bishop Gators, man. He's a trip.
Where do you recommend everybody buy that new book, man? Because we're gonna get it for the studio too.
It's only available at Amazon right now in paperback or as a Kindle ebook. Yeah. So the Controlled Demolition of the American Empire with Jeff Berwick and myself, and as always, the Octopus of Global Control is available paperback on Amazon as well. Digital format, just come to my website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com, and you can buy it there. I'll send it to you.
I love the cover. Obviously, I love the octopus cover too, but the demolition of Controlled Demolition cover is so cool. Like, I just love it.
Thanks. That there's next time we do it, I'll tell you the story of the cover.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, it involves our artist getting like maybe kidnapped in Mexico.
Holy shit! Oh, that's a good.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. We don't know what happened to her.
Wow,
she vanished. So
Jesus.
But we'll get into that next time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, go listen to the Macroaggressions with Charlie Robinson. Get that book. Let us know what you think of it. Have a good one.